With the NFL offseason fully upon us, arguably the most important event is a draft, and for the 49ers looking to push for a Super Bowl, this draft really gives them the opportunity to replenish some of their talent. So in this video, we're going to do a full 7-round mock draft to address several areas of need prior to this free agency period for the 49ers, but before just jumping right into this draft, here's some information. While the computer will be trading, I will not in this draft. And this draft is also a consensus board made up of several sites like ESPN, PFF, and so on. And this is really just to give the most realistic simulation possible, so we're not overly reliant on one site like, let's just say, ESPN. So with that being said, let's see how we could improve the 49ers with our first version of our 7-round mock draft. And if you have any agreements or disagreements, I'd like to hear those down below. But starting out with pick 27, like I mentioned, we're not doing any trades, so with all of these players available, while I could potentially pick up an edge, I'm going to have to go with the wide receiver on the board in KC Concepcion, who really reminds me of a San Francisco type of wide receiver under Kyle Shanahan. He comes in right around 5'11", weighing 190 pounds, so he has the versatility to play both on the outside and inside as a wide receiver, and he also has some background as a return specialist. On top of that, once he does catch the ball underneath, often he's gone in a similar way you would see Deebo Samuel break a couple of tackles and go for 40, 50 yards all the way for a touchdown. Concepcion also does a phenomenal job of creating separation coming out of his breaks, and when he is faced with tough press man coverage, he's able to beat it with hand usage and acceleration. Another thing Kyle Shanahan will absolutely love about KC Concepcion is his overall route running. He does a great job of setting up defensive backs, and while he doesn't have the fastest 40-yard time, he can be effective deep down the field. And with San Francisco slated to lose several players like Juwan Jennings and Brandon Ayuk during this free agency period, San Francisco is really looking for their next batch of wide receivers. Maybe they have it in Ricky Pearsall, but he struggled to stay healthy early on in his NFL career. So with their first pick, I do think Kyle Shanahan wants an immediate impact player, and that player to me is KC Concepcion, especially with all their wide receivers leaving. But let me know what you think with this board. Now jumping ahead to pick 58 in the second round, I have San Francisco going with the edge defender in LT Overton, and while I could have picked up either a guard or even maybe a cornerback here, like Concepcion, it's hard not to see San Francisco in Overton. He comes in at 6'5", weighing right around 280 pounds, so he's one of the more versatile defensive linemen in this draft, being able to play all across San Francisco's defensive line, which should make him an asset for Raheem Morris's defense headed into this year, especially with players like Nick Bosa and Michael. That would be Chris Kasarik, as he's already had success with players like Arden Key and Charles Omenihu in the past. This versatility also helps San Francisco continue to bolster a defensive line that ranked last in sacks last year. Speaking of which, for Overton, as a pass rusher, he has the ability to collapse the offensive line with a strong bull rush, and when lined up as a defensive tackle, he has quick hands, which allows him to routinely beat less athletic guards. Even with all of those positives, I still would say he needs to continue to refine his pass rush, but he really makes up for that with his ability as a run defender. Rarely does the opposing team drive him down the field, and he's able to set a strong edge in the running game, often causing the back to lose a couple on the play. So given these reasons and San Francisco's need at the position, I think Overton made a lot of sense in the second round. Now moving on to the third round, we have San Francisco picking up a tackle or guard in Drew Shelton. He comes in right around 6'5", weighing 305 pounds, and while he's not the biggest offensive lineman, he does have the athleticism necessary to be extremely effective in Shanahan's system. And that's because he can really do everything Shanahan wants out of a tackle. He can pull, make his way out on screens, and also does a really nice job against speed rushers. So by selecting Shelton here, I think the hope would be that he could eventually develop into Trent Williams' replacement by adding maybe 10 or 15 pounds of muscle headed into next year, but immediately he could even offer some versatility as a guard or swing tackle. Regardless of what San Francisco does do with their offensive line this season though, one thing's for sure, Trent Williams won't play forever, and they continue to age at this group. So I think an early round pick on an offensive lineman is well worth it. But now moving on to San Francisco's 4th round pick, I have them selecting Dontay Corleone, or the Godfather, who can play San Francisco's nose tackle and Raheem Morris's 3-4 defensive front if they do decide to go that direction. He comes in at 6'1", weighing 335 pounds, and is a powerful run stuffer, routinely being able to take on double teams and drive his way into the backfield with an effective bull rush. On top of that, Corleone is surprisingly twitchy for being 335 pounds, so he really fits the mold of a defensive tackle or nose tackle in San Francisco's defense. Speaking of San Francisco's defense, we're going back there with pick 133, selecting Devin Moore, the cornerback out of Florida, who comes in at 6'2", weighing 200 pounds, and really has all the athleticism you would want out of a corner. On top of that, he's coming off his best year, leading the Gators with 2 interceptions, as well as adding 3 pass breakups, 35 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble to those metrics. And overall, there are times on Moore's tape where you think he can potentially be an elite corner at the next level. He still needs to prove he can remain healthy long term, but if San Francisco does pick him up late, he can potentially be an absolute steal. On top of that, he should continue to bolster San Francisco's outside cornerback depth, and with Darrell Luter Jr. slated to be a free agent next year, this could be a really solid move later in the draft. Speaking of free agents, Jason Pinnock, San Francisco's safety, is slated to be one this free agency and probably will leave, maybe even going to the Titans with Saleh, so San Francisco may decide to replace him with a player like Michael Taaffe, which is why I had him doing with the 138th pick. And speaking of Taaffe, he comes in at 6 foot, weighing 200 pounds, and while he's not the biggest safety, he makes up for it with his coverage abilities, and I think he could be a true ball hawk in San Francisco's defense. On top of that, with Jair Brown slated to hit free agency next year, if he's able to continue to develop, he could be the replacement there. Now moving into the 5th round, with pick 171, I have San Francisco going back to the wide receiver group, picking Deshaun Stribling. Coming in at 6'2", weighing 220 pounds, Stribling would offer some size that may be lost with Jauan Jennings hitting free agency, and he does a phenomenal job on those contested catches Jauan Jennings really made his name on. On top of that, like Jennings, he's a willing blocker and does an excellent job with the ball in his hands. He's able to pick up a ton of yards, so headed forward, if San Francisco is able to pick up a player like Stribling, I think it would be a perfect fit. But ultimately, these are just some of my thoughts on the way San Francisco may pick in this upcoming draft, and I'd like to hear your thoughts about my picks down below and which ways you would have gone, or if you agree largely with these picks. It would also mean a ton to me if you did enjoy this type of video, if you could go ahead and like and subscribe. It truly helps out the channel a ton, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.